Hi, it's Elise, the founder of Artly Owl. Thank you for joining us in our artist chat series. Today we are chatting with Elvira Dayal. She is a San Francisco based artist who works out of Hunters Point Shipyard Artists. So, Elvira, we are happy that you're able to access your studio and do so safely. Have you been able to work from your studio a lot during shelter in place, or have you mostly been working from home?
Uh, Half and half, actually. Initially, I moved. Well, you can't move entirely to home. It's just. I mean, the reason we have a studio is because there's material space. I mean, but I moved the project that I was working on at the time. I partially moved them home, and I was able to do it then. And then slowly, I kind of started coming back into the studio a few days, this and that, and now I can actually. I feel there's not that many people, so yeah, trying not to touch anything, trying to wear a mask, yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but once I'm in my studio, it's all safe. I feel pretty comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a safe space for you. How are you doing
Yeah.
balancing everything? I know you're juggling a lot. You are working on your projects. You also have a child at home. How has that worked for you?
Yeah, child at home distance learning, man, it's been interesting. I First few weeks when the distance learning started, I felt like I was a teacher and not qualified to be that, but getting all of these documents, their projects, printing or organizing, or here's a Zoom for her. No, now you have to. Now she's having like three Zooms, once after the other, lunches with kids, and they self-organize, and it's pretty interesting. But it's getting a little bit into some kind of a routine, which is nice. I mean, I've learned a little bit better how the machine needs to work. The teachers got comfortable, and of course the kids. Oh my God, the kids are just tech savvy. It feels like they're breathing the technology. They're so agile, so easy to adapt, and yeah, they don't seem to be depressed. Although of course it would be great if they had recess with each other personally, but now it's she comes off a Zoom meeting and she says, "Oh, mommy, it's time for snack. Oh, it's time for lunch. Now it's my recess time. Okay, go outside." So we gave her. She just had her 10th birthday, so we gave her a phone as a present, and she takes her friend on the phone. They're chatting, so they have a recess outside together, but in the yard.
That is really
It's
funny.
it's a different environment, but they're okay. I mean, kids seem to be okay with it. Yeah.
What does your day to day normally look like? I know you're in your studio right now, so it's probably a feeling of normalcy for you, I hope.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, time here is much shorter because of that distance learning, and I feel like I need to be more involved with the kid. But the the few hours, like 3-4 hours at a time that I can get, I try to be as productive as I can. Get in, start work, try to do as much as I can, and run back. I mean, it's also right. It's distance learning. It's also lots of cooking and clean. I mean, right? It's yeah, it's the whole shebang. So, yeah.
It's
We
balancing
yeah. I
everything.
mean, in terms of food, we cook everything. We don't really order anything from outside, so that takes time. And also braining, like you have to plan. What are you going to eat today, then tomorrow, and that you don't get bored with it. There's not that many things to get entertained nowadays, so I guess food is a short entertainment point. So you kind of have to be creative with that as well.
Has any of this impacted your practice, the inspiration behind it?
It's interesting. I mean, my work is so. Um, I like quiet. I like solitude. I wouldn't say much has changed in terms of that. For me, it's always sort of inward looking, and once I'm out of my busy environment and in my own world, It's all the same. Maybe the subject matter, a little bit. I started writing a little bit more about what's going on, and I think in terms of making visual art, I think it's going to seep into some of my work. Yeah, we'll see how it shapes up. I don't have anything finished, but there are some things brooding. So yeah, I think that way it'll definitely be kind of a reflection of what's going on. I mean, it's definite change, and it's not just um, how each and every one of us dealing with domestic issues, but it's also what's going on with the disease itself, right? It may not have hit California as much, but it has hit quite a few individuals badly. But looking at East Coast disaster there, and quite a few states also suffering. So I think from that standpoint, this kind of drama that's opening up, I think that's definitely having an impact. Yeah. So and other things. I mean, kind of um, as I said, I started writing, and I'm going to read a little piece that I wrote. But this sort of extreme imposed upon oneself, imposed on a person, this complete restrictive nature of like loss of freedom of movement and things like that, definitely necessitated and justified, yet very spooky. So yeah.
It is really spooky.
In
I'm
terms
curious
of,
actually to hear. You'd mentioned that you had written a piece. Would you mind sharing that with us?
yeah, I would like to read it. I'm going to read it from my phone. So I started writing a journal, not regularly, but as things come up, just kind of recording. And then before our talk, I decided to put things together in uh, cohesive yet disjointed narrative. It's called Fruit Movement, Speed of Change, the New Abnormal. Speed with which we're boarded up was incredible. In a matter of 2 weeks, everyone had to lock up. It was the haste to slow down. People stayed sheltered. Major shops in SF put huge plywood barricades over their windows. Crime went down. School shootings ceased. All American shooting crime rates possibly went down. Gun purchases is on the, gun purchases on the rise. Saw an article with a picture of socially distanced line into a Culver City firearms store. Gun stores, just like dope and Target, are deemed essential. Need some common sense gun regulation soon. The speed with which the virus initially spread and continues to spread is mind blowing. Running away from it fast was the only option to slow down the spread. Conspiracy theorists at Fox News say it's a fabricated virus, came from Wuhan virology lab, which is said to be located close to the market where the unfortunate inedible virus infected creature was sold to someone as their pancreatic disease remedy. Sounds like a true gossip. Our personal bubbles, as defined by CDC, have grown from initial 3 foot in radius to 12 foot in diameter. I like to work in silence. No music, no leftist podcast, no background noise, nothing. Just birds and bees chirping and screeching outside the shipyard windows. I used to keep my studio door open for an occasional conversation with a neighbor. Otherwise, no distraction. I have always loved the quiet bubble of thought, depth, contemplation. I'm most productive and creative in total silence. I have always longed for a slower pace. Now I'm afraid it's too slow. When I create, I take my time. Once things are mainly figured out, I rush to complete the piece or series. There's a span of extremes. At first, it's slow, slow, very slow, then fast, fast, adrenaline fast. I've compared my art process of creation to birthing and pregnancy. I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter, especially towards the end, I was so eager to meet my child. I would go through these bouts of happy anxiety of getting things to a resolution. We were in Tahoe, staying and skiing with kids and friends. When that week, on March 17th, the mayor of SF was the first to close down the city, announcing the quarantine. Then the rest of the country followed suit. Having grown up and immigrated from Soviet Union, Ukraine, so many years ago, I'm always aware of any state-imposed restrictions, whatever they might be. viscerally, I'm feeling very uneasy about these unarguably necessary measures. We're staying put, surrounded by our closest to us, being with them and seeing them every day, all the time, as a total family on an extended vacay. Now Cali governor is talking about herd immunity. Does this mean we ought to stay in this cryogenic state for many more months or let out and confront the disease? Not much of an artist's life has changed for me, though. I still work in solitude and enjoy my work. I was able to order supplies from an art store the other day, and they came unexpectedly soon. I'm having trouble getting my art photographed, documented though. My photographer's shop closed until further notice. I found someone else. She's great. I was in a double mask and gloves, uh, left a piece by her door. Then she handled the rest. When she was done, she called, and I went and picked it up. After weeks of trying, I finally got my work documented. Next step is to find out whether my framer is on a total quarantine. Last time I checked, he downsized the volume of work, furloughed all workers. Drop off at the storefront of the closed door with a prior phone call was possible. Yesterday went biking and accidentally fell, injuring my left hand. It's like hell. I'm considering going to hospital, get it checked out. Would I go in healthier than I would walk out? Are hospitals cesspool in COVID, or are they safe? This is the new abnormal.
I love that. That is really beautiful, and it really encapsulates this time, all the different elements of your life right now. It's family life, it's impact on your art. You touched on challenges that are related to building an art practice, like how do you actually get your pieces photographed and framed during this time? How do you actually get art supplies during this time when they might not be deemed essential? How do you think this might impact the art world?
Man, we're agile, right? I follow a lot of galleries, and a lot of them are putting so much information, like Catherine Clark Gallery, for example. I've been following them. They put a lot of their video work, done by the artist, that was screened in just one room that they have on Utah. Now it's online, and I just, go at 1 a.m. whenever I'm done with my stuff. I just go in and I watch what's in the galleries. Before I have to make a trip, which is a great thing. I would love to do it now, but I can do it in my own time whenever. There's so much information that's been digitized and available at any moment, so I'm kind of enjoying it. But I feel overwhelmed too. There's so much I can't keep up. Just reading and seeing everything. Yeah, I mean, museums have put so much. They have been doing it already for a number of years, but now, especially with very new shows that have been put up, for example, but no one has gone to a museum to see it because everything is on. People are in quarantine, and museums are in quarantine. So yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that's became available. In that way, I don't feel shortchanged, but I think, in terms of next months, I mean, there won't be new shows, or maybe there will be somehow.
I'm
Yeah.
curious if you think that trend will continue, the trend of bringing content and art online and making it more accessible that way.
Yeah, I definitely think that will be the direction that everything goes. I mean, just like going back to sort of the distance learning, I think when the kids do go back to school, the school is going to be very different, because it will be so much more digital. Is with this incredible push, right? But the tools develop as they are needed, right? So before, if kids had to go on certain things online anyway, now it's an entire thing online, so, and they're able to do it. So I think for art world, I mean, definitely there's going to be like a paradigm shift. I mean, there's just going to be so much more that may not require a physical space, that now it's tested, right? Like now we're basically testing it. How is it working? Can you fully present the work and I mean, on one hand, but on the other hand, there's never an equal to seeing the work physically, no matter how good a photograph or a digital representation of it is, right? I mean, if your work is not digital initially, it's it's tactile or handmade. You always want to perceive it and evaluate it, I guess, see it physically. So I don't think that's going to go away. But how different is it going to be? It's hard to say now. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Yeah.
I think so too. I mean, there's so much that we don't know, but I'm with you. I think that this has actually proven to certain institutions that haven't been as open to sharing content online that there's an interest in that. But I completely agree with you that it's important to still maintain the possibility to actually view art with your own two eyes. There's nothing that compares to that experience. The online experience is a good one to pique your interest at least, but seeing the work and developing a relationship with it, I think that often happens when you're actually physically in front of it. So I'm looking forward to the time we can actually do that again. What are your thoughts on positive benefits of this whole experience? We've talked about societal change that we're already seeing in the shelter in place mode. Is there anything that you think might be carried forth in the future that could be a benefit?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of this dichotomy of how we've been so separated, right? Like we're isolated in our homes or sort of these personal bubble capsules to prevent the spread of the disease. And yet it brings a lot of us so much closer together through digital tools, right? I mean, we were having these birthday celebrations. My brother, my brother married and lives in New York. My father, even though they're in Bay Area, but still also isolated. And my daughter just had her birthday. So we've managed to invite so many more people from around the world and around the country, relatives and friends, and have these Zoom meetings and candle blowing and talks until so late that that we wouldn't be doing this if we just had a birthday celebration. We would invite everyone who's local, and we wouldn't have maybe occasionally like on WhatsApp just somebody calls in the video, but it's not like 30 people talking to each other. I mean, it's really incredible. Yeah, so I mean, from that standpoint, it's been interesting. It's been very positive, I'd say.
I think there is the avenue of demonstrating to people the importance of staying connected, even when you're afar, and the ways that you can actually do that. We did a dinner party with my parents, which I've never done a virtual dinner party with my parents down in Southern California before, but it's actually something that we might do it again. It was really nice to actually see their face and eat together. And we hadn't even thought about that as something that we could do until we were basically forced into it through this situation. So hopefully we'll see more of that.